I am going to tell you something right now, and you better listen close because the walls aren't just closing in on Donald Trump. They are absolutely crumbling down around him. You look at what is happening in Washington today, and you realize we are watching a man who is completely out of options and running out of time. I am speaking to you as an independent political commentator looking at this through a strategist's lens. And I have got to tell you, I have never seen a political and legal collapse happen this fast in my entire life. Just when you think the water cannot get any higher for Donald Trump, a federal judge in D.C. named James Boasberg just dropped a bomb that might actually be the thing that sends this president to prison. We are not talking about some abstract legal theory here or some future indictment that might happen 2 years down the road. We are talking about a hard deadline of January 5th and a judge who is ready to throw the book at an administration that has gone completely rogue. You have got to understand the gravity of this situation because while everyone is looking at the shiny object of the Venezuela raid and the capture of Maduro, the real danger for Trump is happening right here in a federal courtroom. Let's look at the facts because the facts are stubborn things and they are ugly. While Trump was taking a victory lap over this Venezuela operation, his administration was quietly rounding up over 250 Venezuelan migrants right here in the United States. These were not enemy combatants. These were asylum seekers. These were people with lawyers and court dates and constitutional rights. And what did the Trump administration do? Did they give them a hearing? Did they let them call their families? No. According to Judge Boasberg, they spirited them away. That is the word the judge used, spirited, like they were ghosts, like they were being kidnapped. They put these human beings on planes and shipped them off to El Salvador to a place called CCOT. Now, if you do not know what CCOT is, let me paint a picture for you because it is the stuff of nightmares. It is a mega prison built for the worst gang members in Central America. It is a place with horrific conditions and zero contact with the outside world. It is a black hole, and the President of the United States decided he could just dump 250 people there without a single shred of due process. This is where the rubber meets the road politically and legally. Judge Boasberg looked at this, and he didn't just slap the administration on the wrist. He issued an order that is basically a legal ultimatum. He told Trump's people, you have until January 5th to fix this. You either bring every single one of those people back to the United States and give them the hearings they were entitled to, or you hold constitutional tribunals right there in El Salvador that meet American standards of due process. January 5th. That is not a suggestion. That is a court order. And here is the kicker that makes this terrifying for Trump. The judge said, if you do not comply, you are facing contempt of court. And not just civil contempt where you pay a fine. We are talking about potential criminal contempt. And thanks to that ruling from the D.C. Circuit that stripped Trump of his immunity, he cannot hide behind the presidency anymore. If he defies this order, he can be prosecuted, he can be charged. He can be convicted. For the first time in this entire chaotic presidency, the shield is gone and the sword is hanging right over his head. You have to ask yourself what was going through their heads when they authorized this. You look at the incompetence on display here, and it is staggering. They thought because they pulled off this military stunt in Venezuela that gave them the right to treat the Constitution like a doormat here at home. They thought they could just make a secret deal with El Salvador and bypass the entire American legal system. It is arrogance born of desperation. Trump thinks if he acts tough enough on the border or tough enough on migrants that his base won't care about the lawlessness. But he miscalculated. He forgot that we still have judges in this country who actually read the Constitution. Judge Boasberg is telling the administration that you cannot just disappear people. This isn't a dictatorship. You don't get to run a shadow immigration system just because it makes you feel powerful. And now the bill is coming due and Trump does not have the currency to pay it. Think about the timing here, because in politics, timing is everything. This ruling lands at the exact moment Mark Meadows is testifying against Trump. It lands while the cabinet is resigning in protest. It lands while the impeachment trial is gearing up in the Senate. It is a perfect storm. Trump is trying to juggle 5 different crises at once, and he is dropping every single ball. How is he supposed to coordinate a massive logistical operation to bring 250 people back from a Salvadoran prison in 2 weeks when he can't even keep a chief of staff? How is he supposed to mount a legal defense against criminal contempt when his own lawyers are overwhelmed and quitting? He is paralyzed. And a paralyzed president is a dangerous thing, but he is also a vulnerable thing. The sharks smell blood in the water, and Judge Boasberg just poured a bucket of chum right into the pool. The political consequences of this are going to be devastating because this destroys the one argument Trump had left, which was that he was restoring law and order. You cannot claim to be the law and order president when a federal judge is threatening to throw your administration in jail for violating the law. You cannot claim to defend the Constitution when you are spiriting people away to foreign dungeons without a trial. It makes him look weak. It makes him look cruel. And most importantly, it makes him look like a loser. And if there is one thing Donald Trump cannot survive, it is looking like a loser. His base might forgive the cruelty, but they will not forgive the incompetence. They will not forgive the sight of a president being lectured by a judge and having to scramble to comply with a court order like an unruly child. And let me tell you about the international fallout, because that is the piece nobody is talking about yet. You think the world isn't watching this. You think our allies aren't looking at the United States shipping asylum seekers to a gang prison in El Salvador and wondering if we have lost our collective minds. This violates treaties. It violates the Convention Against Torture. It exposes the United States to liability at the International Criminal Court. Trump has turned America into a rogue state in the eyes of the world. He has taken our moral authority and flushed it down the toilet for a cheap political stunt that backfired in his face, and now he has to clean it up by January 5th or face the music. I want you to really let that sink in. January 5th, that is the date on the calendar you need to circle. Because if Trump defies this order, and knowing him, he probably will because his ego won't let him back down, then on January 6th, we could see the start of criminal proceedings against a sitting president for contempt of court. Not for what happened on January 6th 4 years ago, but for what he is doing right now. It is a fresh crime. It is a fresh crisis. And it is happening in real time. The D.C. Circuit stripped his immunity for exactly this reason, so that a president couldn't act like a king. And Judge Boasberg is about to test that proposition. This is not just about immigration policy. Do not let anyone spin it that way. This is about the fundamental check on power in our democracy. It is about whether a president has to listen to a judge. It is about whether the executive branch can just ignore the judicial branch when it feels like it. If Trump gets away with this, you can kiss the separation of powers goodbye. But if Judge Boasberg holds the line and it looks like he is going to, then we are looking at the end of the imperial presidency. We are looking at accountability. And for a man who has spent his entire life avoiding accountability, that is a fate worse than death. The trap is set. The door is closing. And Donald Trump is standing right in the middle of the cage. You want to know what panic looks like? Go look at Donald Trump's social media feed right now, because he is melting down in real time. He is on Truth Social screaming that James Boasberg is an activist judge and claiming this is all a political sabotage. But I have got to tell you that dog will not hunt anymore. We have seen this movie before where Trump attacks the referee because he is losing the game. But this time, the referee has a whistle that can actually send him to the penalty box for good. He is out there trying to tell his base that he was just enforcing immigration law. But let me be crystal clear with you. Shipping people to a foreign prison without a hearing is not immigration enforcement. That is kidnapping by another name. And Judge Boasberg is not some cable news pundit you can bully into silence. He is a federal judge with the power of the United States government behind him. And he has made it very clear that he is not playing games. Trump can tweet until his thumbs fall off, but it is not going to change the fact that he has a court order to comply with by January 5th, and he has absolutely no idea how to do it. Let's talk about why this situation is a total disaster for Trump legally, because the details matter. We are talking about contempt of court, and there are two flavors here, civil and criminal. Civil contempt is when they fine you until you do what you are told. And yeah, that hurts, but Trump has donors to pay his bills. Criminal contempt, though, that is the nightmare scenario. That is when the judge says, "You defied my authority, and now you are going to be punished for it." And remember what I told you about immunity being gone. If Judge Boasberg decides that Trump personally ordered this scheme to bypass the Constitution, he can refer Trump for criminal prosecution. Imagine that for a second. We could have a situation where the President of the United States is facing criminal charges for contempt of court while he is sitting in the Oval Office. Prosecutors love these cases because they are simple. Did the judge give an order? Yes. Did you follow it? No. Guilty. It is not complex financial fraud. It is not a conspiracy theory. It is a simple binary choice, and Trump is on the wrong side of it. And you have to look at the logistics here, because this is where the incompetence of this administration really shines through. The judge gave them a deadline of January 5th to bring these people back or hold hearings. Do you have any idea how hard it is to reverse a deportation operation of this scale in 2 weeks? You have to find 250 people who were dumped in a Salvadoran mega prison. You have to negotiate with the government of El Salvador, which is probably wondering what the hell is going on. You have to arrange flights, security lawyers, translators, and courtrooms. And who is going to organize all of this? The White House is empty. The competent people left a long time ago. We are down to the D team, the loyalists, and the hacks who could not organize a two-car funeral, let alone a complex international repatriation mission. The machinery of government is broken because Trump broke it, and now he needs that machine to work perfectly to save his own skin. It is irony of the highest order. This is exactly why the timing is so brutal for him. You cannot separate this legal crisis from the political collapse happening down the street at the Capitol. While Trump is frantically trying to figure out how to avoid contempt charges, Mark Meadows is walking into a hearing room to testify against him. His former chief of staff, the guy who knows where all the bodies are buried, is flipping on him at the exact moment he needs a loyal lieutenant to manage this crisis. It is a pincer movement. You have the judiciary coming at him from one side with the Boasberg order, and you have the legislative branch coming at him from the other side with the impeachment trial and the testimony. He is getting squeezed from both ends, and there is nowhere left to run. This is what happens when you burn every bridge you cross. Eventually, you find yourself on an island with the water rising and no way off. And think about the message this sends to the Senate. You have got Republican senators sitting there getting ready for an impeachment trial, and they are looking for an off-ramp. They want a reason to acquit him. They want to say, well, it was just a policy dispute or it is not impeachable. But then they look at the news and they see a federal judge threatening the president with criminal contempt for disappearing people. It makes it really hard to defend him. It strips away the veneer of legitimacy. You cannot argue that Trump is protecting the rule of law when he is actively defying court orders. It forces those senators to ask themselves a very uncomfortable question. Do I want to tie my political future to a man who is literally at war with the American legal system? Some of them are going to look at this mess and decide that it is time to cut the anchor before it drags the whole party down to the bottom of the ocean. Trump's legal team, if you can even call it that anymore, is completely overwhelmed. They are trying to fight a war on 5 fronts with a platoon that is half strength and out of ammo. They are going to try to appeal this Boasberg ruling. They are going to ask for a stay. They are going to throw paperwork at the wall, hoping something sticks. But appeals take time, and the deadline is January 5th. Courts do not like to pause orders that are about protecting fundamental human rights. So the clock is ticking, and every second that goes by without a plan brings Trump 1 second closer to being held in contempt. He is trapped in a box of his own making. He thought he could be a tough guy. He thought he could ignore the rules, and now the rules are biting back hard. This is the danger of electing someone who does not understand the government. He pulled a lever thinking it would make him look strong, and instead he opened a trap door right underneath his own feet. The other thing you have to understand is that this creates a permission structure for everyone else to turn on him. When a federal judge says the president broke the law, it gives cover to the bureaucrats and the officers and the aides to speak up. You are going to see immigration officials coming out of the woodwork saying, I told them this was illegal. I wrote a memo. I objected. Nobody wants to go to jail for Donald Trump. They see the ship sinking and they are grabbing the life vests. This ruling from Judge Boasberg is going to generate a flood of new witnesses and new evidence that is going to spill over into every other investigation. It is all connected. The weakness in one area accelerates the collapse in every other area. We are watching the disintegration of a presidency, not in slow motion, but in fast forward, and I am telling you, it is going to get a hell of a lot worse before it gets any better. The most dangerous place for Donald Trump right now is not the federal courthouse in D.C. It is the floor of the United States Senate, because that is where his political fate is going to be decided. The timing of this Boasberg ruling could not be worse for him if it was written by a Hollywood screenwriter. We are heading into an impeachment trial in mid-January, and the central question for every single senator is going to be whether this president is a threat to the republic. And right as they are weighing that question, they are going to see a president actively defying a federal court order to bring back people he illegally disappeared. It changes the entire calculus. You have Republicans in that chamber who are looking for any excuse to stick with him, but they have a line in the sand, and that line is the Constitution. When you have a president who says, I do not have to listen to judges and I can ship people to foreign prisons without due process, that is not a policy disagreement, that is a constitutional crisis. And for a senator who took an oath to protect that document, it makes a vote to acquit almost impossible to justify. You have to understand the pressure these senators are under. They are watching the same news we are. They see the cabinet members resigning. They see Mark Meadows testifying. They see the polls cratering. And now they see a president who is potentially walking into a criminal contempt charge. They are asking themselves, do I really want to tie my career to this anchor right as it is going over the side of the boat? The Boasberg ruling gives them the permission structure they need to break away. They can say, look, I supported his policies. I like the tax cuts, but I cannot support a man who defies the courts and disappears people. It gives them a high ground to stand on while they stick the knife in. And Trump knows this. That is why he is panicking. He knows that once the Senate GOP breaks the dam brakes and he is washed away. And do not overlook the financial piece of this, because that is where it really hits home for Trump personally. If Judge Boasberg starts imposing fines for contempt, we are not talking about parking tickets. We are talking about millions of dollars a day. And who pays that? You think the taxpayers are going to foot the bill for the president's illegal defiance of a court order? No way. That money is coming out of Trump's pocket, or it is coming out of his campaign. And either way, it is a disaster. He is already facing asset seizures from the New York fraud case. He has legal bills that would bankrupt a small country. And now he is looking at a daily fine that bleeds him dry. The Trump organization might not survive this. Trump Tower might not survive this. Everything he built, his entire brand of being the rich, successful businessman, is being dismantled brick by brick in public view. There is a historical echo here that you should pay attention to. We have had presidents fight with courts before. Andrew Jackson famously told the Supreme Court to enforce their own decision, but that was 200 years ago. We do not live in the 19th century. In the modern era, presidents comply because they understand that without the rule of law, you do not have a country, you have a mob. If Trump tries to pull an Andrew Jackson in 2026, he is going to find out that the American system is a lot stronger than one man's ego. Historians are going to look back on this moment as the stress test for our democracy. Did we crumble when a strong man tried to break the rules, or did the institutions hold? Judge Boasberg is proving that the institutions are holding. The courts are doing their job, and now it is up to the Senate to do theirs. This is the end of the line. I have been in politics a long time, and I know the smell of a campaign that is dying and a presidency that is over. Trump is out of moves. He is out of friends. He is out of time. He cannot comply with the order because it makes him look weak. He cannot defy it because it sends him to jail. He cannot spin it because the facts are too damn ugly. He is trapped in a corner, and the walls are not just closing in, they are crushing him. We are watching the final days of the Trump era, and it is ending exactly how we thought it would, in chaos, in courtrooms, and in total disgrace. The presidency of Donald Trump has always been a high wire act of defying gravity, but the wire just snapped. He is falling, and there is no net. When the history books are written about this moment, will they say that we allowed a president to place himself above the law? Or will they say that this was the moment the American people and their institutions finally said enough is enough? If you want to keep tracking this with us and see how the Senate trial unfolds, hit that like button and subscribe, because we are going to be here every step of the way watching the truth come out.